What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Lost Boy Skates podcast. I'm your host, Lost Boy Skates. You can find me on Instagram at Lost Boy Skates 88. That's my personal Instagram, or at Lost Boy Skates Podcast Instagram. We have an ongoing sponsor, Reaper Apparel Company, and you can find the link below. They sell t-shirts, beanies, hats, and all of it helps them support mental health and substance abuse. And you guys know that mental health and substance abuse is very near and dear to my heart. It's been my career for the past 16, almost 17 years. So I really appreciate anybody that does purchase anything. When you are going through checkout, make sure you use the code LostBoySkates88, because remember, every time you get something from them, you help support the channel, and everything goes back into the channel and the contest that I'm running. With that being said, I want to jump into today's episode, relearning and learning new tricks. This is something that I think about on a regular because, of course, as a skateboarder, we're always trying to learn new things. We're always trying to push ourselves to that next level. And in order to do that, we have to learn new things, or we have to learn new ways of doing things. Disclaimer, this is not a trick tutorial video. However, I will be referring to two specific tricks: nollie tail slides and varial kickflips. Reason being is just because I just recently relearned nollie tail slides, and because of the mechanics of the different tricks. So every skateboarder has a different way of going about learning new tricks. Some skateboarders will just do what I call a full send. They'll think about a trick and then they'll just try it right then and there. They don't worry about the mechanics that go into the trick or anything like that. They just try it, right? I'm a little bit different. I like to know the mechanics of each trick that I'm trying to do. I like to build up from one trick to the next trick, right? So the other thing is, when I'm learning new tricks, I don't like to be around a lot of people. My problem is I don't want people to give me tips, right? I know that sounds counterproductive, but a lot of times I want to learn how to do it by myself, because then if I learn it by myself, a lot of times I have that trick down and I'll be more consistent with it because I learned it my own way. That's not always the best way, but it works for me. I don't always recommend that either, because if you need help learning a trick, it's okay to ask for help. It's okay to want someone to kind of guide you with that, right? Me personally, I just don't like it. Uh though there are some tricks that I have done the full send method with. Couple of combinations, the fakey shove, switch 50-50, half cab out. And then the other one would be the frontside 180, switch 50-50, half cab out. Um, these particular tricks I had seen people do over and over again, especially buddies that I skate with. They're like their personal combinations, and I thought they were pretty cool. I had never tried them, and I finally got the guts to try them, and both of them came the same day, actually, within, I want to say, 10 to 12 tries. Um, so it was just really cool to learn those new tricks. And there were other people at the skate park at the time, but I kind of just didn't care. My goal was to go and learn these new combos. Uh, Specifically for me, I have to be able to visualize myself being able to do a trick. If I can't visualize myself doing that trick, I probably won't be able to do it. And I think that's because I want to feel confident in what I'm attempting to do. I want to understand the mechanics of the trick. A suggestion I would make for people who have trouble visualizing themselves doing a trick is to watch skate videos and watch what other skaters do when they're doing a trick. And the other thing you can do is, when you're at the park, you can ask people for advice, of course. In watching videos, what I try to do is I have watched skate videos before, not tutorials, but actual skate videos, watching a guy do like a heel flip. Neen Williams is one of my favorite guys. So I've actually been trying to relearn varial heels, and he has a very superb varial heel. And so one of the things I try to do is I watch his videos and I actually slow them down so I can watch what he does with his mechanics. Now, he's a fucking ninja. So some of the almost like over dramatics of him doing the trick, obviously I'm not going to be able to emulate that, but his foot placement and how he lands, how he performs the trick, that's what I'm really watching for. A perfect example of me being able to visualize a trick was when I was like 16, I was learning fakie big spins, and I had been thinking about it for almost a week before I even tried my first one. And I really was able to visualize how I wanted to do the trick, where I needed my feet to be. And so what I ended up doing was just one day saying, screw it. I went out front of my house and I just tried it. And I think within like 10 tries, I had landed my first one bolts. And I was like, you know what? I got this trick now. And that trick was actually in my bag. It's still a trick I like to bust out all the time. I'm actually really confused as to why there's a lot of people that can't do fakie big spins. Um, it's like people skip over that trick, and I think it's a really cool trick, especially to do on hips. So earlier I talked about the full send method. I'm more of a smaller step method person. Uh, when I'm visualizing myself doing a trick, right, I start off with, okay, a varial kickflip. It's simply a pop shove and a kickflip combined, right? So when I think about the mechanics of that trick, I think about like the scissor movement for the shove that you do with your legs. And then I also think about the flick for the kick flip because the pop for most tricks is relatively the same. So with the varial kick flip, it's a tiny scoop and then you slide your foot and you flick. When I started thinking about it in those terms, I realized that it's not that hard of a trick to do, and so one day I started trying it, and I started landing on flat ground, so then I took it to the bank and was able to learn how to do, a varial kickflip to fakie, and I haven't done a varial kickflip in quite a while, but it's one of those tricks that once I start trying it again, I land it within a few tries. Um, so yeah, again, I think about the mechanics of each trick, so sometimes you have to learn all these extra tricks like nollie tail slides. I don't have a very good nollie. I don't have a very good nollie cab. But what I can do is I can do nollie frontside 5-0s. I can do a nollie frontside Smith. Um, so what I realize is almost a similar pop, just with a little bit more turn of the shoulder. So your nollie 5-0, the way I kind of do it is I come up and I pop the trick and I actually get my truck just above the ledge and then I slam down real fast to pull out that 5-0 and slide off, right? The nollie Smith is a little bit different where I pop it and I just get the truck on and I just anchor and then I get that slide and it's kind of like the same wave motion. So essentially with the nollie Smith though, you turn, you give it a slight turn a little bit more, and you're practically doing a nollie tail slide. So when I started figuring that out, I had to learn my foot placement. And eventually I realized if I put my foot either at the first set of truck bolts towards the tail, or if I put them just over the truck bolts, I can actually pop and get my foot to that tail and get a little bit of slide in and then turn out to fakie. I don't have enough control to go back to my regular stance. Not yet. It's something that I'm gonna try and work on, but that's how I relearned the nollie tail slide. I did a warm up nollie 5-0, and then I did a warm up nollie Smith, and then I was like, all right, here we go. And within 15 minutes, which is probably about 10 to 15 tries, I had relearned nollie tail slides. You actually get to see the clip of me doing the nollie tail slide. I didn't do all the build up or anything like that. I just wanted to show the progression of the nollie 5-0, the nollie Smith, and then the nollie tail slide. Um, if I can give you any advice on learning a trick, it's learn from your mistakes, right? If you realize that you're not landing a trick, try to figure out why you're not landing that trick. When I first started learning heel flips many, many years ago, I was actually originally a kick flipper. I think I said that in my very first video. But now I'm a heel flipper. I love heel flips. Just it's just such a solid trick, and I get really good pop with it. And I feel a lot more confident in it than my kick flips. But when I first started learning them, one of the things I learned was if I put too much of my toe off the board flies behind me. There's no control. But I also realized if I put too much of my toe on the board, then the board would actually fly in front of me and I'd have no control again. So eventually what I started realizing was I found this middle point where I don't hang a lot of my toe off. Sometimes it's just a little bit, sometimes it's not really at all. It almost looks like I'm set up for a really weird kick flip, and then I heel flip and I can catch them in the air. So that's how I learned to do that trick, though, was by learning from those mistakes, realizing why the board was doing what it was doing, learning the mechanics of the trick, right? That's my mindset. And then the other piece to it that I think a lot of people get too focused on is I want to land bolts first, as soon as possible. I want to land this trick perfectly. And when you're learning a new trick, I think you need to go into the mindset of a land is a land. So what you did a little bit of toe drag, so what you touched your heel a little bit, so what you rolled away for barely 3 seconds, right? A land is a land. Practice is key. Film the process and learn from your mistakes. Sometimes filming yourself trying a trick and seeing what you're doing wrong, and sometimes you have to film it from different angles. And yeah, that's a lot of time spent on learning a trick, but I'm telling you, when you finally learn that trick, when you finally land it the way you want to land it, you're going to be that much more enthusiastic about it. You're going to feel that feeling that we all get when we land a new trick or when we land a trick that we've been haven't done in a long time. You can always go back and clean up that trick. It doesn't have to be perfect right there off the back. That's the whole point of skateboarding, is continuing to get better and better and better with a trick or with a bag of tricks, right? So that's just my thought process on it. Everybody's a little bit different. I think about it more, especially now that I'm older, than I did when I was a kid. But I think one of the reasons why I am so consistent now with a lot of my tricks is because I think about it in this way. And it always goes back to the meme of everybody, standing at the chalkboard doing all these math equations in their head. And it might seem like that, but at the end of the day, again, if you can learn from your mistakes, if you can work out the mechanics and figure out the trick, you're going to be consistent with it. And for me, being at 36, I want to have the tricks that I have consistently. I want to have a good time skating. I don't want to get frustrated because it's taking me forever to learn these tricks, right? So that's really about it today. I appreciate everybody that's been checking out the podcast. We're slowly but surely still continuing to grow, which is awesome. The Skate Park Best Trick Series is just doing phenomenal. The last series we did at Wilmington Skate Park, and I had 10 submissions total. I threw my clip in there just for the hell of it. I didn't expect to win because it's community based. The community is picking the tricks. There's no way that we can cheat on this, and we did a really great job. It came down to old school versus new school in the most recent one, and new school won out. But it was a very close match at first. I even had to start getting on people to, hey, cast your vote. Make sure that you've picked the best trick. And so people started doing that. And, again, it was a really close race. At the end, the winner ended up winning by 4 votes, but that was because, again, I kept pestering people, hey, cast your vote. Make sure you cast your vote for this, because people were talking about it, but they weren't voting. People were liking the videos, but they weren't voting. Like, I know sometimes it's really hard because you don't want to pick, but I'm telling you, sometimes it can lead to the person who maybe doesn't necessarily deserve to win. So that's really why it's important for you to cast your votes and be honest about, what your favorite is. We're a community. We all have awesome tricks. We all have good skate days. We all have really good skate clips. But sometimes there's always going to be that person that just maybe did a little bit more that day, right? Or maybe did a little bit more in that clip. And it's okay to say that. It really is. It's not going to hurt anybody's feelings. If anything, it's going to just help continue to build that support for one another. Because I can tell you what, right now, when I've liked other people's clips or I've left a comment on other people's clips, they've done the same for me. and that's encouraging, and it helps build that confidence and makes us feel like we're supported in our community. So that's it for today, guys. I really appreciate everybody. Please like, subscribe, leave me a comment. It's going to help this channel continue to grow, continue to get more views, and just continue to bring the skate community together. Again, I appreciate everybody. Have a good night and keep skating. I said, if you watch the Nollie 5.0, you can see the wave motion I was talking about. I slowed down the clip just so you could see this wave motion. I wasn't happy with the original Nollie Smith I did for this video, so I'm using a clip from a few months ago. This is probably my most dipped Nollie Smith, but notice not much of a slide, if any. I don't care. I'm not trying to go pro here. Here is the land of the Nollie tail slide. It's not perfect, but it's definitely one of the best I've ever done. You can hear my disgust in the first clip, but after further review, I was actually more happy with it.